The fact that we are the fourth largest city in America and have a top 10 media market, and our media consistently lets anything to do with their sports teams off the hook. I told you that they can be bought off in terms of stories and don't run them if I give you this or that. But the fact that you had everything laid out in front of you to ask about McCown, to ask how come you didn't make Lovie Smith's name a priority, that you've been talking to him the whole time. So whether you did or not, or it was part of the process or not, how come we're left to guess that maybe you just had to do this last minute and continue the questioning from there, and yet everybody was just throwing bouquets? It couldn't frustrate me more.
As far as the Lovie Smith and like the timeline in the process, a couple of things that we had confirmed to us in this press conference today. Lovie Smith was John McClain. The way he phrased the questioning basically was kind of funny, kind of almost framing Lovie a little bit, or like trying to put him in a corner. But anyways, Lovie didn't deny he was a part of he was late in the process. In fact, he said the opportunity presented itself late in the game. Nick Caserio said that he was talking to Lovie Smith about the process throughout the process, getting advice and bouncing off ideas off of him. So any idea that like Houston media is being fooled, Houston media doesn't know, Houston media got played by Nick Caserio, Lovie Smith was the guy all along. Lovie Smith said himself moments ago, the opportunity presented itself late in the game. That has been confirmed by the head coach of the Houston Texans.
This is why I continue to say, and miss me, please, with all of the commentary about Houston radio and commentary about you guys just look for something to talk about and you're never happy and what's the big deal? The big deal is I would have been a lot more open to and I would like and support more a Lovie Smith possibility of being the Houston Texans head coach had he been involved in the process from the get-go. Had he been a finalist, had he been a candidate, had he been announced. But because of the way it went down and the way they decided to try and force feed you information to say, we're concluding our talks now, but we talked to him multiple times just to try and convince you of what there's no convincing me of, it pisses me off because you guys got to understand you got played. You got played in the whole process, and now suddenly you're trying to think about, you want to believe that you're picking up what Nick's putting down, and you want to believe, oh, this was something that they did the whole, you guys got played. I mean, I think he got the right hire, and he was in the process all along. Stop trying to buy into all that BS.
The irony of that, though, like hearing that commentary is them doing that commentary about sports radio, right? Like, oh, the media's never happy with the Texans. Well, these people that are sounding off like that, never happy with sports radio, they're doing the same thing. They're just changing the topic a little bit, right?
Hey, guys, I want to tell you real quick about Fitz Roofing. I love the people at Fitz Roofing because they take care of Houstonians every step of the way. It starts with a free no-obligation inspection. All you do is call them, 832-521-3001. No matter what you need done, they come to you, tell you what they can do. They go back out the rest of their day. You want them to come back, you book them, and they do great customer service before, during, and after the sale. You can check out all the ways that they can help you at fitzroofing.com. But believe me, Fitz Roofing, making a difference one home at a time.
And I look at the Lovie Smith situation. This is the best comparison I could think of. It's like the process was terrible. You still finish with a solid guy, even though you still finish with a solid head coach that has went to a Super Bowl. Don't go look at the previous coaches who have been to the Super Bowl since Lovie Smith, by the way. You know, Tom Coughlin has been to a Super Bowl more recently than Lovie Smith. There's a lot of coaches that have been to a Super Bowl more recently than Lovie Smith. So if you want to continue to point at that, I'll say you should have hired Tom Coughlin as the head coach of the Houston Texans. Lovie Smith is still the worst hire in this coaching cycle. If you don't believe he's the worst, you probably think he's second to last in terms of who the Houston Texans hired. So you went back-to-back coaching searches, and you've hired the worst head coach of that coaching cycle. That falls on Nick Caserio. And here's the analogy that I want to use, because a lot of people are pointing to it and say, oh, people are ticked off about the process when you still got Lovie Smith. Who cares about the process when you got Lovie Smith? Here's the comparison I want to use. It's like drawing up a terrible play. The quarterback nearly got sacked because you had a terrible, blocking scheme to protect your quarterback. But your quarterback bails you out. He flings the ball downfield. Another terrible decision. It should have been picked off by the defensive back. He had it right in his hands, but it deflects off his fingers, and the wide receiver catches it. The process was terrible. The play was abysmal, but the result was okay. But after watching that play, and even though the result was okay, what faith and what trust do you have for the next play? and then the play after that, and then every single play following. And that's where I'm at with the Houston Texans. Was the result okay? Yeah, Lovie Smith is solid. He could be stable, sure. But the way they drew up the play to get the result of Lovie Smith is what you have to be terrified of. And if you're ignoring that, then you just want to be a Houston Texan fan, and that's fine. And you want to see positive rainbows, roses, and all that. You're excited about Lovie Smith, but you're probably lying to yourself.
Yeah, look, I agree with you 100%. And I think this is why we do what we do, and we do it without being swayed by being a flagship or having anybody else influence us, and we're able to voice our own personal opinions as we see them. As we see this process, as we see what went down with the Houston Texans, you have to see all the mistakes. You have to see the slip-ups. And you're right, you have to see a general manager that you should put no faith or trust in believing anything that comes out of his mouth. And from that point on, you can start getting down to the fact that Lovie Smith is a good man. Lovie Smith had a good run as a head coach. To me, unlike you possibly, when I look at this, if Lovie Smith had been in the process the entire time, I might have put him in my top 3 or 4. I might have moved him up the list because of all the inexperience of everybody else. And I would have said, look, you went the inexperienced route the first time. It didn't go so well. So if you want to get yourself a coach that has some more experience, that also has the respect of the locker room, that's also been there a year already to understand how things work in the building, I would have been okay with it. But because you snuck him in the last minute, and then you tried to pull the wool over our eyes and make us believe something that evidently isn't true, that's where I get fired up.
And that would have made you feel a little bit better about the process, right? That, okay, Nick Caserio has an idea. He has a plan, and he wants to execute the plan. If Lovie Smith was a candidate, if Lovie Smith was getting interviewed, not at the 11th hour, oh, no, what are we going to do? Okay, here's Lovie Smith. Let's make Lovie Smith the head coach. He's solid. He's been all right in the NFL before, and those things are true, but the play drawn up was abysmal, and I have no faith in that dude continuing to draw up the plays for the Houston Texans organization.